Venezuela's underbelly, La Sabaneta, Venezuela, land of beauty, land of chaos, a country known for its stunning landscapes, vibrant culture, and rich history. Yet, beneath this facade lies a darker side, a side that many would prefer to ignore. This is the side where La Sabaneta exists, the place that embodies the chaos and turmoil that can be found in the underbelly of this nation, and home to La Sabaneta, a name whispered with fear and disgust. This prison is not just a facility for incarceration, it is a symbol of the failures and struggles of a society grappling with numerous issues. The very mention of La Sabaneta sends shivers down the spines of those who know its reputation. It is a place where the lines between right and wrong blur, and survival becomes the only goal. This wasn't just a prison, it was a monster, a behemoth that devoured the souls of those unfortunate enough to be confined within its walls. The stories that emerge from La Sabaneta are not just tales of crime and punishment, but of human suffering and endurance. It is a place where the human spirit is tested to its limits and often broken beyond repair. A stark reminder of societal failings festering in the heart of Maracaibo. La Sabaneta stands as a testament to the systemic issues that plague the nation. Overcrowding, corruption, and violence are rampant, creating an environment where lawlessness prevails. The prison is a microcosm of the larger societal problems, reflecting the deep-seated issues that need to be addressed. Behind the barbed wire and high walls, a brutal reality played out, far removed from the world outside. Inside, the prisoners are left to fend for themselves, often with little to no intervention from the authorities. The strong prey on the weak, and alliances are formed out of necessity rather than trust. It is a world where the rules of society no longer apply and only the fittest survive. This is the story of that reality. A reality that is harsh, unforgiving, and often deadly. It is a story that needs to be told, not just to highlight the plight of those within, but to shed light on the broader issues that allow such places to exist. La Sabaneta is more than just a prison. It is a mirror reflecting the darker aspects of humanity and the urgent need for reform. Built for a fraction of its eventual population, La Sabaneta quickly became synonymous with overcrowding. Thousands of inmates crammed into spaces meant for hundreds, the air thick with the stench of sweat, disease, and despair. Each day was a fight for survival, for space, for a scrap of dignity in the face of overwhelming inhumanity. To call the conditions at La Sabaneta deplorable would be an understatement. Disease ran rampant. Basic necessities like food and water were scarce commodities, often controlled by the most powerful within the prison walls. Sanitation was practically non-existent. The prison, a breeding ground for sickness and violence, a stark testament to the failure of the Venezuelan penitentiary system. Section 4, Rule of the Jungle, the Prains. Within the chaos, a terrifying order emerged. The Prains, heavily armed gangs, took control. They dictated every aspect of life within the prison walls. Their rule, absolute. Their methods, brutal. The guards, often outnumbered and outgunned, turned a blind eye. The Venezuelan government seemed powerless, or perhaps unwilling, to intervene. Section 5, Inferno and Uprising, Stories of Carnage, the year 1994. A year that would be etched into the annals of history for the sheer scale of human tragedy that unfolded within the walls of La Sabaneta prison. A fire sparked by a riot ripped through La Sabaneta. The flames, fueled by the chaos and desperation of the inmates, spread rapidly, consuming everything in their path. The prison, already notorious for its overcrowded and inhumane conditions, became a death trap. Over 100 inmates perished, burned alive in their cells. The screams of the trapped men echoed through the night, a haunting symphony of agony and despair. The fire raged on unchecked as the prison guards, overwhelmed and ill-equipped, struggled to contain the inferno. The world recoiled in horror. News of the tragedy spread like wildfire, igniting a global outcry. Human rights organizations condemned the conditions that had led to such a catastrophic loss of life. But the nightmare continued. The survivors, scarred both physically and mentally, were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. In 2013, another riot, even more brutal than the last, left over 60 dead. The prison, still plagued by the same issues of overcrowding and neglect, once again became a battleground. The violence erupted with a ferocity that shocked even the most hardened observers. The violence, a stark reminder of the volatile powder keg that La Sabaneta had become. The prison, a microcosm of the larger societal issues plaguing the country, stood as a testament to the failure of the system. The stories of carnage, both past and present, serve as a grim reminder of the human cost of neglect and indifference. The flames of La Sabaneta may have been extinguished, but the scars they left behind will never fade. Section 6, a failed state, turning a blind eye. The Venezuelan government, grappling with its own demons, seemed content to let La Sabaneta fester. Reports of human rights abuses fell on deaf ears. The world watched in horror as the situation deteriorated. La Sabaneta, a symbol of a nation in crisis, a microcosm of the chaos engulfing Venezuela. Section 7, the legacy of La Sabaneta. In 2013, La Sabaneta, one of the most infamous prisons in the world, finally closed its doors. This marked the end of an era, but the echoes of its dark past still resonate today. The remaining inmates were transferred to other facilities, but the scars of their experiences remain etched in their memories. La Sabaneta was not just a prison, it was a symbol of a system that had failed its people on multiple levels. The stories of violence, of despair, and of inhumane conditions are numerous and harrowing. The tales of brutality and neglect paint a grim picture of a place where hope was a rare commodity. The prison was notorious for its overcrowding, with thousands of inmates crammed into spaces meant for far fewer. This led to a breeding ground for violence, disease, and death. The stories of violence, of despair, of a system that failed its people, are not just tales of the past, but lessons for the future. La Sabaneta serves as a chilling reminder of the human cost of neglect. The dilapidated buildings, the crumbling infrastructure, and the haunting silence of the empty cells all tell a story of a place that was forgotten by society. The neglect was not just physical, but also systemic, with a lack of proper medical care, food, and basic human rights. The human cost of this neglect is immeasurable. Families were torn apart, lives were lost, and the psychological scars run deep. The prison's closure was a necessary step, but it came too late for many who suffered within its walls. The legacy of La Sabaneta is a stark reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked, and when the most vulnerable are left to fend for themselves. The consequences of unchecked power are evident in the stories of corruption and abuse that emerged from La Sabaneta. Guards who were supposed to protect the inmates often became their tormentors. The lack of oversight and accountability allowed a culture of violence and fear to flourish. This is a lesson that must not be forgotten, as it speaks to the broader issues of justice and human rights. The fragility of civilization's veneer is starkly evident in the story of La Sabaneta. It shows how quickly the thin layer of order and humanity can be stripped away, revealing the chaos and brutality that lie beneath. The prison's history is a testament to the need for vigilance, compassion, and reform in our justice systems. It is a call to action to ensure that such a place never exists again, and that the lessons learned from La Sabaneta are not in vain.